as well. But without further ado, I'll get to the main attraction, film historian Rob Kelly, to introduce The Stranger and speak about it a little more.
Hello. Thank you all for coming. As Rowan said, my name is Rob Kelly. I'm a film historian, and I'm here to give a little background on The Stranger. So in 1946, despite making two of the greatest films ever made back to back, Citizen Kane and the mangled but still brilliant The Magnificent Ambersons, Orson Welles had not directed a movie in over 4 years. His name had become synonymous with arty, over-budget productions that lost money at the box office. So when the script for a movie called Date with Destiny, soon to be retitled The Stranger, landed in his lap, Welles wanted the job to prove that he could make a film on time, under budget, and then one that had broad commercial appeal. The Stranger held a lot of personal interest to Welles. During World War II, he wrote a syndicated newspaper column that often dealt with very serious topics, one of which was the creeping rise of fascism across the world. He often warned his readers not to be complacent, that it couldn't happen here. So he knew that he could really sink his teeth into the story of an escaped Nazi hiding in a nice, safe town in Connecticut. Welles liked the cast of members of his Mercury Theater radio troupe in his films, which he did for Kane and Ambersons. But producer Sam Spiegel exerted a level of control that Welles had not had to deal with before. So one of his ideas, the casting of Mercury regular Agnes Moorehead, who played little Charlie Kane's mother in Citizen Kane, in the lead role as Wilson, the Nazi hunter, was immediately bounced by Spiegel. The role was eventually cast with a more conventional pick, Edward G. Robinson. Another impediment Welles had to deal with was the film's editor, Edward Nims. Spiegel gave Nims the authority, very unusual for Hollywood production, to cut pages from the script before shooting ever started, with the warning that if the material was shot, he was just going to cut it anyway, wasting time and money. He was the great supercutter, Welles said later, who believed that nothing should be in a movie that did not advance the story. And since most of the good stuff in my movies doesn't advance the story at all, you can imagine what a nemesis he was to me. Indeed, a long prologue featuring a married couple of Nazi hunters, which Welles described as dreamlike and nightmarish, was eliminated almost entirely. The final film featured just the briefest remnants of that opening. Going into shooting, Welles knew he had to work around Nims, who wanted to cut the film in a more conventional manner. One way he did this was to film The Stranger using several long takes, many minutes in length. One scene between Welles and actor Constantine Shane runs for an uninterrupted 4 minutes, making it even longer than the famous unbroken shot that opens Welles' 1958 film, Touch of Evil. But these long takes are less showy and therefore less immediately noticeable. Welles shot The Stranger this way because it left editor Nims nothing to cut away to, no close-ups or other angles to insert. He often had to leave the scenes intact, exactly what Welles intended. Star Loretta Young was the biggest movie star that Welles had worked with to this point. She had done mostly comedies and romantic melodramas before taking the lead in The Stranger, but she was game for her director's unorthodox methods. When editor Nims, him again, wanted to interrupt a long shot by cutting to a glossy Hollywood close-up of Young, Welles told him no. He felt that a close-up would interrupt the flow of the scene. Nims insisted, so it took Young to step in and tell the editor that her director was right, and that she wasn't going to do the shot. Welles was impressed and later said, "Imagine a big movie star not wanting to do a close-up." I metaphorically shake my fist at the screen when I see Edward Nims' name come up in the opening credits every time I watch The Stranger. Feel free to do the same. With all the compromises he had to make with the producers, Welles was never totally happy with The Stranger. Some lines of dialogue reference scenes that were removed, so they don't make a lot of sense. Indeed, the last line of this film refers to a dream sequence featuring Loretta Young's character that got left on the cutting room floor. Still, The Stranger remains a very effective, highly entertaining thriller with many touches of the energy, inventiveness, and impish humor that Orson Welles brought to all of his films. And it did accomplish one of its goals. It made money. The owners of The Stranger forgot to renew the copyright, so the film fell into public domain in the early 1970s. That meant when the home video market took off a few years later, any company looking to make a quick buck could put it out on VHS, which led to things like this. This is The Stranger on VHS, and that is Orson Welles. But this is not Orson Welles from The Stranger. This is a still from the 1944 production of Jane Eyre that he appeared in. One last thing I want to mention. Even though this movie is readily available on the device in your pocket, you all came here at this appointed time to see this movie together. I think that's because people who value seeing movies on the big screen have a powerful unconscious desire to, as Martin Scorsese has put it, share a common memory. So let's all experience this wonderful movie together. Thank you.